put it to 1 minute. Well, that was a quick minute, dude. You went to live. It's all right.
Well, I gotta cut it. I gotta cut it in order to go to a different one. So
no, it's fine. We're ready. Hey, you guys. So we're live now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're live. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you like my windblown hair, man?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really just me forgetting to brush my hair when I got out of the shower. But anyway, hey, you guys. Welcome to Stormcrow Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. It's like episode 1,000,009 or something like that. I don't know. It's what episode is it, Mark?
61.
61. Yeah, 4.5 years of this show. That's Mark Potter, my co-host and tech sav guy, lightsaber wielding savant. Couldn't do the show without him. And then of course this is Lola, our mascot. She's our show mascot. And then, of course, my name is JD Glasscock. And yes, for those people that haven't heard that before, that is my actual last name. It's not a pen name. But anyway, we have an amazing show for you tonight. Some amazing artists. So let's just jump right in. Well, who do you want to bring on first?
Let's go ahead and bring in Kevin Sinclair.
All right, you guys. Kev, his series Creation Bane, he has a lot of books, but Creation Bane is one of my fave series out there. If you haven't read it, please do. It's just a brilliant reading. Who the hell doesn't love a LitRPG with the MC as with a cooking background? A cook that becomes a god, and his woman is just as badass and a she-wolf. But anyway, all right, let's bring in Kevin Sinclair. Hey, buddy.
Hey, everyone.
So let's also bring in veteran LitRPG authors. Both of them are veterans, have tons of books, and both brilliantly talented. Bring in Jonathan Brooks. Hey, buddy.
Hello there.
Yeah, that took a lot of this. Mark is becoming a savant on getting this show going, man. I mean, literally, that was up and zippity quick. But Facebook is also helps when it doesn't just change things arbitrarily at a moment's notice, which it has a history of doing. But good to have you guys on, man. I like just jumping right in it. So, Jonathan, nail me I remember to pay attention to chat, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Hit me with a series that you've done in the last 2 years or a book that you've done in the last 2 years that you just thought turned out amazing and you were proud of.
Well, I'd probably say my Holiday Dungeon Core series. I really enjoyed writing, even though they were novellas. I enjoyed using some of my own experiences in decorating for holidays to kind of apply that to
LitRPG?
Different. Yes, yeah, it's a Dungeon Core LitRPG, and it's
based around holidays.
Yeah, it's so the guy from Earth who gets transported to another fantasy world. So he's a Dungeon Core. He sets up different sections in his dungeon based on holidays. So he's got Christmas, Valentine's, Easter, Independence Day, and
I'm assuming there's a macabre twist to these holidays.
Well, yeah, of course. The adventurers come in, and he has to try to kill them with some sort of like
Well,
Santa
like bunnies
is a boss.
and like
Yeah,
evil
bunnies.
Santas and shit like that.
Yeah, Santas, reindeer, and Christmas. There's a room full of marshmallow peeps in the Easter section. In the Halloween, there's zombies and pumpkins come alive, and
What do you consider a novella? I mean, what's the page?
it's pretty much under 50,000 words.
You know that's a novel, right? You know, anything over 40,000 words is considered a novel by the sheer metric of to qualify as a novel for like the biggest awards out there, like in straight up books, specifically fantasy books. All it has to do is be over 40,000.
Oh, none of them are over 40,000, so they're all they're all less than that. I just kind of
okay, because Roger Zelazny, one of my favorites as a kid growing up, wrote the Amber trilogy, or Amber was like 9 books, Amber series, and he's considered one of the greats of that time period, like late 70s, 80s. All of his books were like 180, 200 pages.
Yeah. These ones they're all around 35 to a little less than 40. So right around that range.
Novella then. Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to do each holiday as a separate book, so you could theoretically read them individually and still enjoy them, because they're all based on just a certain section or holiday for each.
Oh, so you can read them as standalones or as a series.
You could, there is an an overarching story that it continues from book to book, starting with Christmas core and going through the year, so Valentine's, Easter, and so on. So it helps if you know what it is, but you could theoretically read them individually.
Well, it's a novel concept. I mean, I haven't read personally very many dungeon cores. Jez has one that's kind of dungeon core, but not really. The dungeon is like part of the story, but he's not tied to the dungeon. So
his Rise of Mankind.
Rise of Mankind, it's probably one of my favorite of his, the Lightning Lord guy. Although as I said to you in the Brian interview, Jez, please fix Jack the dog and get Beta her fucking dog, man. But anyway, but that's cool, man. It's an original concept.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that's probably what I'm so proud of, because I love decorating for the holiday, especially Halloween and Christmas. I do it all up outside. My wife does it inside, and that's kind of what I applied to the book.
Very cool. My brother-in-law is really into that too, although what he does is he pays a guy to go do it.
I eventually want to pay someone to get up on our roof, because I don't really want to do that anymore. Because I don't really want to fall. But for the most part, it's mainly me.
That's very cool. Hey, so Kev, in the last 2 years, what is something you came up with that you thought kicked ass?
I really like the Sesame Accords series, which had the first book as Disperse. It's quite different. I wrote it in quite a different style to God of the Feast and my debut series, Condition Evolution. So I really enjoyed doing that. It had an interesting time loop aspect to it, where I had a
little Groundhog Day.
A little bit more than a day, but it had the villain with the time jump. So you had it like through the eyes of the MC, but sort of dealing with a villain who was able to time jump.
So so I'm assuming you're doing third person and you're jumping between the two POVs.
No, first person. Yeah.
But the villain pops up every time he's.
Yeah, so it's picking up the clues as you're going through first person about who the villain actually is as well. It's supposed to be a kind of a whodunit in the first book. So
a little clue.
Yeah.
Very cool. You're at my age, man. You played that game, right? Clue.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I think the candlestick. This is started with the candlestick in the library or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember we loved that game when it first came out, man.
Yeah, it's a great game.
they're doing films along those lines too. Knives Out or whatever they've done too. I think so far with the guy that was playing James Bond. I forget his name again.
Yeah, the one bad films.
Daniel Craig.
I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig.
Very, very, very cool, man. With how many books in that series?
That has 2, and I'm releasing a 3rd one this year. It's been a slow series. It's probably had a boogie year since 2021.
How many series are you guys doing? Because I mean, like now, Jez is like trying to do a 4th series when he hasn't wrapped up any of his series, and I'm like, man, how do you all like? I'm about to start a 2nd series and have 2 going, and that seems a little juggling a lot.
It is. It's difficult to juggle. I've pretty much finished the first section of my first series, Condition Evolution. That's sort of at a point where I'm happy with where it's gone to. This series has probably got 2 more books in it over the next 2 years. God of the Feast, I'm wrapping up next year, sort of the first half of next year. And I have another one on Royal Road at the minute. That thing's going to be...
wait, are you part of the that group of you guys that's doing the cyberpunk?
I am, yes.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Because there's a few of you doing that.
There is, yeah.
Jez. I mean, those are some heavy hitters. And then Don, who I love, Don and Phoenix. When I started writing, those were the 2 people that like literally kept throwing advice at me and helping me and giving me info and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're both great. This is Lars McMullen as well.
Yeah, very cool, man. And then are you guys? I mean, because I think I saw Jazz saying that he was about to publish book 1 actually on Amazon. So I'm assuming that at some point, all this world series is all going to be going on Amazon.
I believe we've agreed August the 1st, where all of us will publish the first book together. Yeah.
Very cool, man. So eventually, like, you could have enough where you could have your own little mini convention on just like with you guys and that cyberpunk. But I'm a big dude. I played Shadowrun and all that stuff, man. So literally, I like cyberpunk.
Yeah, mine's very Shadowrun inspired.
Yeah, I was disappointed with Cyberpunk 2077, but that's
the main character here is an orc.
Oh yeah, I remember those. I always played. Usually, I played. I think the elf or the human, and I was always like what is it called? It's been a while, man. Like the street. I usually played the street class or whatever, street punk or whatever, and then I would get mix of like hacking and pistols and shotguns.
Nice. Can't beat a shotgun.
Yeah. I like that medium range, kind of a little bit of sneakiness, and then the hacking.
Well, Osh Bob's he's shotguns and fists.
Yeah.
No hacking. He can
play an orc. That is like literally.
Yeah. He's a gang boss, so it's sort of like a gangster story, and it's about his rise. So he employs other people to hack for him.
But they don't. They call them something. They don't call them straight up orcs, do they? They call it like they're. Aren't they like? They have like another word added to it or something like that because of the whole concept of cyberpunk or whatever.
Yeah,
I forget them, and I haven't played like Shadowrun and all that.
Yeah, but it's been some time now, but it isn't Shadowrun. It's not like a fan fiction or anything. It's just sort of a cyberpunk world with the fantasy races. So we've got elves, goblins, dwarves.
Well, with hacking and cybernetics and.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very cool, man. Very, very cool. I'll have to. I'll pick them up. I'm on Royal Road, but I never read on Royal Road, man. So I'll just pick them up when they come out.
Yeah. It's a totally different experience, isn't it? Reading Royal Road and reading on your Kindle.
Yeah, the only time I'm on Royal Road is when I throw up the next chapter. That's literally, I throw it up, I'm back off, and then I pull them down, except for a couple chapters when I publish, But I'm going to try to be a little more focused on it with this new series and get do it how you should have done it, which I never did, which is where you have some chapters ahead before you publish. Because I literally, that book 1, man, 9 months ago, I literally wrote the thing. I was publishing as I was writing, like chapter.
Yeah, it's hard. I like to have at least like one sort of story arc ahead, so maybe it's like 30 chapters where you can catch some things, can't you? You can like catch some edits as you're going along.
It's a smart way to do it too, as far as building an audience as well, man. So, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it a little bit better. I don't know about 30 fucking chapters, but I'm gonna try to do it a little bit better on this next one. But very cool, man. So I'm gonna hop back because that's my fault. We went on a little tangent. So let's jump back though to the original series we were talking about of the one you
Disperse,
done in the last years, huh?
Disperse, yeah. Oh, this has me on boards. Yeah.
So tell me more about the thematic of that.
It is the basic premise is that there's an energy being released from the Earth's core. It's already set in the future. It's already sort of recovered from an apocalypse, the Earth, and this energy is released, and it kills a lot of people. But the people it doesn't kill, it changes, and provides them with powers.
Is it lit?
There's stats, there's powers, there's upgradable things. They go up in tiers, and each tier has a rank system. So basically what happens is there's an alien council that come to Earth, and they want the energy, the Sesmiel it's called, and because they consider themselves civilized, they allow Earth a chance to compete for the right to keep Earth. So it's a series of competitions in the form of waves. So each race in the council, and the 7 of them, send a force down to fight humanity for the ownership of the planet. So that's the basic premise.
Very cool, man. Yeah, the only series I've read of yours is the Creation's Bane. So, but I've stayed up on that. Every time you bring a new one up. Now I think I've even commented on some questions about it on your little post when you're promoting it. But very, very beautiful. Now, Jonathan, what about something current, man? What is something currently you're pounding on that you're amped about?
I'd say probably my story I have actually on Royal Road right now. It's The Fusionist. It's about,
I've seen your promos, I think.
Yeah. It's about a guy who learns that he has potential to be, to wield magic and stuff like that. But it's mainly a story about like a crafting story, because fusions in my world are like kind of enchantments, and they just they use the same kind of properties and stuff like that. But I really enjoy the mechanics of those kind of things. So I really go in depth into how he puts together the different fusions and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I have it going on Royal Road right now. I already have about a third of the second book written. So
you haven't published any of them yet?
No, not yet. I'm letting all of the first book go. I still have there's like 90 something chapters for the first book. So once
that's a thick bastard, unless those are really small chapters.
They're relatively small. It's 170,000 words.
That's still a pretty thick book, man.
Yeah, so that's small. So once that's done, then I'll look into getting it all fixed up and get it published and stuff like that.
Very cool, man. Now, this is the one thing I look forward to, and it's the one thing once authors have found some fiscal stability from the writing, it gives you a little more freedom to do things like that, to play with series, put them on Royal Road, let them sit there and stack. and all that kind of stuff. So that's beautiful to see. When you're
Yeah.
beginning, you're kind of like trying to just get there, so you just kind of need to pitch them out.
Yes, exactly.
True.
And
Unless
then
you like are a whiz on getting people to go to Patreon and support you there, but
yeah, no, I've gotten
there's not too
more,
many
but
Zogars or whatever, however you say his name. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, this was my first straight lit RPG book that I wrote since 2018. So I wanted to change it up a little bit because mainly all I have is the Dungeon Core lit RPG. So this was my first straight lit RPGs in like 5 years. So I wanted to change it up a little bit, go the Royal Road route, and try it out there.
Very
see how
cool,
it worked.
man. Very cool.
Yeah,
And like I said, it's a beautiful bonus to play with once you have some fiscal stability in your writing to do projects like that. It's like, just like Jez and Kev are doing that right now with the cyberpunk thing. You know, it allows you to do projects like that with your buddies and create worlds and and that goes for anybody I know in film or anybody I know. I'm always happy and excited for them when they get to that point of being any kind of creative position. When you're being able to make a living out of it, it gives you the freedom to be able to then explore more of your creative pursuits without that pressure of trying to get there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's always good to see, man. The whole point of life to me is find out what you love to do and figure out a way of making a living at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah, and not very many people have that opportunity. So when you see people find it and make it happen, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Okay.
You just wanted to wake up in the middle of the night to say hello. Kevin's looking fresh. Yeah, Brian, we talked about it before the show. I just did an interview with Brian, and I couldn't believe how many people messaged me saying they watched the show, and then I was prepping for them to go, oh yeah, it was a great show watching you talk about your books and stuff like that. And every one of them only said one thing: Brian's voice is hypnotizing. I'm like, oh, okay, great, man.
Thanks.
But anyway, that's the only thing about when we're on like three things at once, dude. I get notifications and literally like for everything, man. YouTube, and every time someone makes a comment, it like goes YouTube, and then it goes Twitch, and then it goes Facebook. It's funny. But anyway, so Kev, something currently, you can still continue talking about the cyberpunk if you want, but something you're currently hammering out that you think is cool.
I would just go God of the Feast, because that's sort of me until we release the cyberpunk in August. God of the Feast sort of still me main published focus.
I think it's very cool in the simple fact there's only one other series I know where it's the MCs are gods, or your concept of gods, and that's the one that Alaron did of one book of it, which was the last book he did, which is actually probably the one I like the most of his because of the concept of LitRPG, but it's a god. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's God's Eye, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, and the Panther people or whatever.
Yeah, I've not read that one, I'll be honest. I read his Land series a couple of years ago or something. Yeah.
That wasn't the first book, though, I read. I think, Vidar's Dragon Mage. And that's another guy that's got so many, he's under two different author names, and it's got so many series that he started, and none of them are finished, man. They're like, he's got like 4 different series, and like he's never, even his first series, it's got like 7 books or something like that, and he still didn't finish it. And then he went on to like write 3 other series. I was like, oh my lordy, man.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. feel about that long term. I'm looking at sort of tying things up over this next couple of years, really, before. I mean, I'll start something new because you've got to keep things pushing forward, but I'll certainly be tying up a few of the older series, probably next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should, and if I get it, if it's like a fiscal thing, like maybe the series isn't doing well, but then I would say if you have some fans, at least trump it up and
Yeah.
give some kind of wrap up to it. You know what I mean? And you can't just be doing things purely to chase the buck. You know what I mean? Like you got to show.
Yeah, there has to be a balance there and a bit of respect for people who have invested time.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But did you find what I found though, as I'm writing this first series month, there's so much learning, and not just from a writing standpoint and becoming a better writer or anything, those things, but from systems to characters to everything, of learning what works, what doesn't, and that the theme, especially in LitRPG, that the theme, whether it be dungeon core, whether it be tower climbing, whether it be apocalyptic, whatever it is, that whatever theme you choose in a certain way boxes you in a bit.
Yeah. The first series I wrote started off as a sort of fantasy VR game in the first book, and then became a space opera by the second book. So I've never really let myself be trapped by things too much. I'll just go off and do whatever needs to be done.
And then make some cataclysmic event that changed it or something.
I think there's always ways without anything like sort of huge occur, and that was kind of the intention with the first book anyway. It was sort of, I mean, I'd wrote that in the middle of 2020, and it was that sort of sense that I wasn't a huge fan of like direct sort of in-game lit RPG, and I wanted that because there was a lot more of that at the time, and I wanted that sense of, well, how would that translate? How would the skills you've learned and within a VR translate to the outside world? But then it just sort of took off in a space opera direction, which.
Well, because I think we talked about this before in book one. I didn't really mean it. I kind of, and there's a lot of authors like that. I have an overall plot, but then I write from the hip.
Yeah.
You know, and let the chapters take me where it needs to go. But all of a sudden, I made him a leader of a city, and then all of a sudden, like I took it kind of like how Des does, where I give him an assistant to run a lot of it. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, I got to keep I got to keep coming back and talking about some of the city building because that's what I set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can get that, definitely.
Yeah. Now, what do you think, Jonathan? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to, talk about being kind of stuck in a certain genre like dungeon core. It's hard to break out from where you start as
when you establish it as a dungeon core.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that a few times, like in my Dungeon World series, where I've had the main character can make dungeons, but he is also a dungeon core. So he's kind of a half human, half dungeon core. So he's have a little more freedom. But for the most part, I'd probably say 80% of my books, the dungeon core is pretty much stuck in its dungeon. It may expand a little bit, but for the most part, that's where it is. It's hard to switch from being a dungeon core to
a VR.
A VR, yeah, exactly. A VR game, or even like Kevin would say, a space opera. It's hard for that to happen.
No, I feel you, man. I was dealing with that with the first series. It's also why I'm starting, and I won't do 4 series. Why I'm starting a second series, just to break it up, the monotony a little bit. I'm about to finish book 5. I'm like, man, I got to write about something different for a hot second, and give me some freshness when I come back to book 6. But I promised myself that in this new series, he ain't gonna be a ruler of anything, and it's just gonna be a lot of fucking killing.
There you go.
You know,
switch it up.
Because I think there's fans of all styles, so it's not like making those choices you're not gonna have fans. There are people that love slow burns. There are people that love city building. There are people that love like Battleborn is like that, kind of a city builder. There are people that love the dungeon cores. There are people that love the VRs. There are people that love portals. All of those things. So it's not like by choosing to do it, you're not going to have people that love it. But have you found that when you do a different series, you want to do something different?
Oh yeah. I've found that like especially with my newer series, the Fusionist, I wanted to do something different. I have a lot of different dungeons.
You're not going to let him anywhere near a fucking dungeon, right?
No. I decided this one he's not going to be going in any dungeons. There's no dungeon construction, anything like that.
Hasn't even got a basement in his house.
Nope. So yeah, I was like, okay, I do plenty of dungeons in my other series, so I'm gonna just have them do other stuff. So
now, also, do you guys find it a challenge always coming up with a new type of system because you don't want to repeat the same system as all your other books unless they're in the same world, I guess. But because there is a guy, I think, does Pyro Souls and a few others, and all of his books, even though they're different series, are part of the same universe, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing it that way, do you find it a little bit challenging to try to find a new kind of way of doing a LitRPG system in each series?
No, probably because one of my favorite things is designing the systems. So that's one of my favorite parts of writing these is designing them and making them unique. Sometimes there's some things that kind of repeat and that are more common.
Well, because there's tropes. I mean, tropes of LitRPG that are kind of. I mean, they're going to be stats of some kind or attributes of some kind, or
yes, exactly. And most of my ideas for books are because of those systems and mechanics. So that's actually usually what I come up with first. I don't have a story at all. I just think, what if this is how this system works, or what if this mechanic was part of the story. And that's usually where I grow my story from.
You know what I'm reading right now, but and I love it, but the only thing is Ran Diddley Ghost Town, but oh my god, dude, the amount of sheer skills, dude, like seriously.
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting for him to get pick my nose skill. You know what I mean? Like
yes, there's a limit to skills. I think there should be at least in my books, I try not to have too many skills, abilities.
Mostly because I don't want to remember all of them, man.
Yeah, exactly. So you can have quite a few, but once you get past 20 or 30, it's too much to keep track of, and you don't need to keep repeating all that stuff. At least in my books.
Now, what about you, Kev? What's your concept? What's your idea? Do you think it's sometimes a challenge to keep coming up with different systems?
I don't really go too far from like a basic system. So while all the systems are different, there's not really a lot changed. I don't go too complex with that.
There's a link between them.
Yeah, and I just love a basic system that really charts progression and skills, but like Jonathan just said.
No, that must be interesting though with this new one because you're doing it with 3 other authors, so you guys obviously had to get together and build the system that you're all going to work under.
For how they want the system to work, and it is probably quite a bit different to anything I've done before.
But I'm assuming you have a universal Bible that has the system.
Yes, yeah. There's a setup on World Anvil that we've got running, which covers most of the system information. So yeah, that's been great because I don't like it. I don't plan the system first. I'm sort of story first and what I need from
I'm that way
the
as well.
system.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the interesting aspect of that though is that you're still like writing your own books, which so I could probably collaborate in that way, but I would find it a challenge to actually write a book with someone, man, because it literally that's I had those offers like when I was doing film of people that wanted to write a script with me, and I'm like, that just seems way over convoluted and trying to get on the same page and taking turn writing scenes or your chapters or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, we sort of agreed that early on that that's probably not going to work for any of us or our styles of writing. So each book in the Cyberpunk series, which is called Autumn, is standalone. You can literally read any of them
they're just in
purely
the
as
same world.
exactly. They're in the same city, the city of Autumn. Um, and there is overlap. I mean, I think Jez, Lars, and Dawn all have their sort of series running concurrently, like sort of time wise. In the first books, whereas my first book is set 20 years before, like in its entirety. But there are characters in my book and things set up that will lead into theirs.
Well, because I've seen problems with that. I've read a couple LitRPGs where there was two authors, and they just were contradicting themselves over and over again. Like you didn't remember. So obviously the other person wrote it, and you guys didn't read
Yeah.
what each other wrote because you're literally contradicting like limitations you put on those abilities 3 chapters ago.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? Sort of having to second guess yourself and someone else.
Well, and it's just when you're writing it, you're flowing because you wrote everything, so you intrinsically know. When you have another author co-writing it, I can't imagine that you would be like having to then go read what they wrote to try to stay
Yeah.
like in some kind of chain of events or consistency. I like that just seems like it just seems like a challenge. I don't know. Have you guys ever had anyone ask for you to write a book with them?
I actually have written a book with somebody else, with Jeffrey Falcon Loeb, the Bio Dungeon series. So yeah, we wrote 3-book series, finished that up, and it's difficult, but if you have a plan going in, like we didn't just trade off chapters. We actually each had a different character essentially. So there's 2 main characters.
Oh, very cool. So you took one POV and he took another.
Exactly. You still have to kind of work with them and read the other chapters so you know kind of what's kind of going on. But ours was because there was the main character was a guy like this thief character, and then the other character was a dungeon inside of him. So using immune cells and stuff like that to fight bacteria and viruses and stuff like that. So
I'm seeing a very common theme in your stories here.
Yes, lots of dungeons. But yeah, so like I wrote the majority of what was inside of the body, and then he wrote more of what happened outside. We kind of traded off sometimes, just to get a feel for him, the other characters, but for the most part, we just kind of stuck to that, system, and it worked for us.
So kind of like Osmosis Jones.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yep.
I mean, I even struggled. Mark wanted to do a coordinated lightsaber battle in yellow summer dresses between us, and I was struggling, man. I mean, literally, like I was just like, the only time we even had a moment of purity to it was when he put a disco ball above us. Then for some reason that like focused us, but. No, yeah, everyone has their different styles. I think Kevin alluded to it a moment ago of writing. So you would obviously have to have at least somewhere in the same zone of writing styles to make it probably work, because otherwise it would be too jarring. Like if all of a sudden Alan wrote one chapter and then like Jazz wrote the other, so it went from like no cussing to
fun. It was okay if there was some different type of writing to it, because one was a dungeon crystal essentially inside of the body, one was a human. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was okay.
Interesting. It would be an interesting challenge at the very least.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I could do it very well if it wasn't like.
We're gonna take a break here in a minute, but what did you guys get to see the Dungeons and Dragons film?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of it?
I loved it.
Totally. Very, very much fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
It's by far 100,000 times better, just because they've actually put production value and actually like good actors compared to the old Dungeons and Dragons movies they tried to make.
Oh yeah.
Which were like literally straight to video.
Yeah.
No production.
Yeah.
Thing. So, and you could tell they borrowed a lot from what Marvel was doing, and as far as like the style of the way they shot it, I wouldn't be shocked if they had a bunch of production type people from Marvel and DC like involved with it. You know what I mean? Because you could definitely in it.
Yeah.
And they did take some ad libs. The bard that actually can't do anything, that has no spells and music, or music doesn't do anything. And then you did have the druid who could just like shapeshift like endlessly, which is not quite how wild shape works in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, hopefully soon. You never know.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it would be cool to see actual like class choices, and you know, like, I mean, you'd have to do it cinematically. You'd have to have it like kind of floating across or the screen, or a little flash or whatever of like strength, whatever. But that concept would be. I think not only would it be cool, but I think it would sell.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Dungeons and Dragons is so huge, and role-playing games have become so huge. A lot of it had to do with Critical Role, and you know, these celebrities like doing it and on YouTube and stuff like that. But I think it's just a hop, skip, and a jump, man. I think that would launch the genre if we could get one or two films out there that actually like did something.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, very cool, man. I'm gonna do my best, since I am a filmmaker and a LitRPG. I'm gonna do my best to like try to push that agenda, man.
Hey, more power to that, because you know we can always use that.
Definitely.
Well, my new series is actually based on a film I started writing like a couple years ago, and then I said, oh, that would be a cool LitRPG, so that's what I'm doing with it. And then the one after that is the same thing. It's a film script I wrote about half of about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. It's going to be a superhero LitRPG in the vein of like Watchmen. We'll see. But anyway, you guys, we'll be back in 5. Just don't disconnect, you guys. He'll put that screen up again, the 5-minute thing.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
See you. Hey, if you haven't met, this is Lola. Lola, say hello to everyone. All
Hello,
right.
Lola.
She's 11, man, so she's an old princess. Anyway, let's go back and we'll start this time with Kevin and then go to Jonathan. Kevin, what is something in the next year or two that you have planned out that you want to hit that you're excited about?
Finish an army series, Jonathan.
Which one's the closest to that? Because Creation Bane seemed like you have at least 2 or 3 probably still going.
There's 2 more for Creation's Being. We'll be bringing it to an end.
And then the new one's new, so I'm assuming you probably have at least, if it's a, what are you guys doing, a trilogy?
We've agreed 2 books each, but I don't know yet. I think mine might be 3 books by the time it's finished. Sort of the way it's ended up, the way it's set up.
See, that's the weird thing with me. I actually went into my first series saying it's going to be 9 books. Then, because my books are only like 200. I have one that's 300 something, but 200 to 300 something pages each. So, and then the next series, I always said it's going to be 6 books. You know what I mean? And I try to do as much to hold that, but sometimes, fuck it, shit happens.
Yeah, and then the next one 3 books, and then the next series just 1 book, a standalone.
But that's your plan. You're not doing any new series. You don't have any plans for any new series.
Nothing concrete. I have a couple of ideas I'm working with that I'll probably start working on more in depth near the end of the year. But I really just want to concentrate on sort of those.
Well, we talked about it earlier. You don't want to be one of the authors that has these like all these series hanging out there unfinished while you keep making more.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me personally, everyone's different, but it does start to get a bit stressful because you need to come back to things, and you might have other projects that are maybe more commercially successful that you sort of don't want to leave behind. You need to focus on them, and so it's a tricky balance. So I'm trying to just pick things off to make sure that I've done justice to the series I've started. Like I say, I'm
this
currently
cyberpunk thing? Is this all under Jez's publishing house?
No, it's all individual.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So, how many? Wait, I forget what you said. How many series do you have going right now?
It'll be 4.
4?
No,
Holy
3. 3. Yeah, 3. Sorry.
So Creations is Cyberpunk, and what's the other one that you don't have finished yet?
Sesame Accords.
Did we talk about that one?
That's it.
That was the one we talked about.
That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign, JD, is it?
Well, we were talking about a lot of series, but that's the one that's the first the past
it's a post-apocalyptic. Yeah. That's right.
That's okay. So very cool, man. Did you so do you have is it all the same? Do you have fans of Kevin Sinclair that read all your series, or do you have a slightly some overlap but different ones that like different series?
I have some fans that read through. There's appears to be more of an overlap with that series in particular. More of a different fan base for that series in particular. But yeah, I mean, they're sort of all very different. You've got the space opera, then it's a post-apocalyptic, and God of the Feast, obviously, like fantasy isekai. So they are different, and they do appeal to very different fan bases.
Well, yeah, and then one's a cook.
Yeah. Why not?
He's like, excuse me, Mr. Zombie, I need to hold off on killing you because I have a souffle in the oven.
Well, something like that.
So, Jonathan, what about you? What in the next 2 years? What is something you're amped about that you're excited about?
Well, for the near future, I'm excited about finishing up my crossover series, the Dimensional Dungeon Force. It's the one that brings 4 different series together. So once it's done, which I'll hopefully be working on next It'll be a total of 25 books, all kind of leading to this one conclusion. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. I saw your book list, man. It was endless, dude. How long have you been writing books?
I published my first book November 2017.
And now you have how many altogether?
I have 50, and then I have a bunch of box sets and stuff, but 50 individuals.
I mean, no one's going to touch Harmon as far as number of books, but
yeah, he's got quite a few. But yeah, I'm excited about that, getting that done finally.
You could literally, I swear to God, you could literally be even an average writer, and if you had 50 fucking books, you'd probably still be able to make a decent living out of it.
Yeah,
But you're actually a talented writer, so I can't imagine 50 books. That's a lot of books, man.
Yes. I enjoyed writing every single one, so I just love what I do. So I have a lot of fun doing it. So
yeah, I'm like a wee baby, man. I have 4, about to have 5. That's about it. Because I know Kevin has. You've got to be close to 20, right?
14, I think. 14 or 15.
15. And when did you start writing, Kevin?
2020.
Wow.
So you're still about the same pace if you backed it up 3 more years.
Yeah. But Jonathan's one of my inspirations as well. Him and Harmon.
Yeah, Harmon's just a machine, dude. I think the guy's like a cyborg or android or something like that, man. Or
sleep.
Yeah, like he literally drills them out, man. Like, I mean, the only one I've read of his is the Cowboy Necromancer.
Yeah, he's got quite a few.
But I mean, that is the name of the game, and I've talked to younger authors since I started writing, like Kalen and stuff like that. Is that if you don't just hit it out of the park in the first few books, most LitRPG authors that have found success, I would say a majority of them have to get volume going.
Yeah,
and then slowly, at some point, it might explode by sheer number of volume books, and then one of them hits and all that kind of stuff. There are people that break that, like Zogarth and Kev and Jez did well out of the gates and stuff like that. But I always, because I had some author talking to me who was all depressed because his first 2 books didn't blow up, and I'm like, bro, that's like not. You can't use like the guys that do that and blow up as like that's the norm. That's not the norm. The norm is you have to keep doing it and put volume out.
Oh yeah,
and give yourself a couple years to build up a fan base.
Definitely.
But it's I mean, even J.R. Matthews, another guy that hit it off right out of the gate with his first book. But he was shocked as all get out, dude. And he just happened to also, he's a great writer, but he also happened to hit something that hadn't been done before, which is that LitRPG and mixing Magic the Gathering and cards into it. Now there's a few that have done that, but he was really kind of that I know of, the first one that really, which was brilliant of him, because just thinking about it, Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games, and people that play Magic, that's like a lot of the same crowd.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I mean, it's a huge overlap that wasn't really touched. But great guy too. Do you guys know J.R. Matthews?
I haven't.
Yeah, I've spoken to him. Yeah, I've spoken to him a couple of times.
Yeah, very, very humble
really well.
guy, cool guy, very low key, and always wears a tank top and flip flops, dude. But but he lives in Hawaii, so it's understandable. But very, very, very cool, guys. Now, what is your guys' thoughts on where LitRPG overall is right now and where you think it's headed? Either one of you can start. It doesn't matter.
Well, I think it's a really good point right now. There's a ton of books out there, of course, but it's also getting a lot of attention from a lot more than just our little community. It's when some of the books debut at number one at the Amazon charts. It's gonna catch some attention, especially even from like some of the bigger publishers and stuff. So I worry a little bit about the bigger publishers, like the big five.
Taking some already established authors and having them write LitRPG to
exactly. That's my worry, is that they're gonna try to change the heart of what LitRPG is to everybody who has enjoyed it. And because we're kind of a specialized fan base.
And almost 100% Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be good, could be bad, but I think it's good that it's becoming more familiar. Like I was at a con this last weekend, and I had more people who had known about LitRPG than I think I've ever had at a con before. So they've heard of it, may not be too familiar with it, but I even had a couple people who have read a couple books at least. And it was a horror con. That's why I have my phone board back there.
Dark, so I certainly promo it in some horror author or promoting Facebook groups. So
yes. So yeah, I think it's good, and I hope it just keeps improving. And we need more fans to keep up with all of these awesome books that are coming out. So.
Well, who knows, man? Maybe someday it'll actually open up the ability for indie authors to go directly into bookstores, like chain bookstores and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, Amazon makes it a little kind of challenging because they want exclusivity in a lot of ways. But I think you can put books out, but you got to go through some third party. I think Jazz is trying to explain it to me. You go through some third party who then takes it.
Ingram Sparks are probably about the most popular for doing that.
Yeah.
But then they take a cut, and then you know what I mean? Then the bookstore takes a cut, and then it might, but I hope that at some point it can be more of a direct avenue for the authors to get into, like submitting, if they're big enough, submitting their books directly to like Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that, and getting them, and the genre becomes big enough. I can foresee it doing that. Now, Kev, what is your opinion on those things?
Yeah, it certainly seemed to be taken off. You mentioned the movies. There seems to be more sort of movies around LitRPG. There's obviously Free Guy. Did you see that one?
Yeah, and then you have the one with The Rock where they had kind of statistics, the Jumanji.
Oh yeah. There's one called Boss Level as well, which
I love that. Mel Gibson.
It wasn't Mel Gibson. I'm forgetting the name of the actor.
Well, I think Mel Gibson is the villain.
Yeah, you might.
Are you talking about the one where his time is repeating?
Yeah, that's right. It's like a groundhog type of thing.
I love that guy. He plays. He's in the Avengers too. He plays Skull Bones or Crossbones.
Yeah, me only issue with Boss Level was that it was very similar to, we mentioned him already, Harmon Cooper's Feedback. Lou?
I haven't read it.
That's his sort of first main series that I read. I'm not sure if it's his first books, but it was certainly his first series that I'd read. And like the whole Morning Assassin thing repeating was straight out of that book. So I don't know if it's taken inspiration from Harmon Cooper.
Hollywood did not snake things, dude. So I mean, believe me, I was in the film. I've been in the film industry over a decade, bro. So yes, there's definitely that happens, and that definitely does exist, where they just snag parts and then go twist some stuff and then call it their own. But
apart from that,
I did love that Mel Gibson makes a badass villain, though, dude.
Yeah, I would have expected that.
Yeah, it's just between the only time I saw him do that though is that movie and the Expendables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he always plays the hero, and so I was like, man, you do a damn good villain job, man. But yeah, very very cool, man. It's been a great show. I'm very excited to have you guys on board. You're both very talented and good spirits, and I wish you nothing but success.
You too, man.
I appreciate it,
having
man.
us.
You know, like anything in life, I always say just keep stepping and put the sweat in, man. And
Yeah, exactly.
you know, you're going to get there. And everyone's path's different. One might get there in a day, another person might get there in 2 years. But as long as you keep your feet on the path and put the work in, man, you know. Now, I could be totally self-delusional and I just suck balls at writing and I'm never going to get there. But, you know, such is life, dude. Unfortunately, Mark, we don't have time to show your videos of you doing your lightsaber acrobatics, man. But maybe next time. I really, he has one video of him in a yellow summer dress, dude, with 2 lightsabers, and it's insane, dude. But anyway, I can't do the show without Mark. He's my little brother from another mother.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And you guys out there have been watching Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. And as we always say, dream, put the steps in and see your dream to fruition. We all wish you beautiful energy and thoughts, not only to our authors that are beautifully talented here, but to you out there whenever you watch us in the future or right now. Now, Jonathan, can you throw up, or Mark, you're going to put their links, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once he's done with this, he'll go back and put in the description links to your guys' books.
Oh, it's already there.
Oh, okay.
All there.
I haven't gone to look, man. I'm on the show or this program page. And like I said, it'll be in perpetuity on the Facebook show page and in YouTube. But again, you guys, both brilliant authors. If you love LitRPG, go on Amazon, just look for Kevin Sinclair, Jonathan Brooks. They'll pop up. They both have so many books. One of them will pop up. If you have a particular fetish for dungeons, go hit Jonathan because he's got like at least 3,000 books about dungeons. So
Just about.
I'm telling you, if you like chefs with badass she-wolf other halves, then Creation Bane is a great little flip. But anyway, you guys, it's been a brilliant night. All the love to you guys and love to everyone else. We'll see you next month on the flip side. Next month, we for the first time ever, all harem episode. That should be interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, see you next month, you guys. Have a beautiful night.
Thank
And
you,
happy
man.
Mother's Day to all the people for this last Sunday. Happy Mother's Day.
Have a good night.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I'll
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll talk again soon. Hope you guys had a great time.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
See you later.